Well, hello everybody and welcome. This is Matt and Micah, and this is our 2022 Colorado Trail adventure. And we are going to share it with you by talking about it as you see the pictures. Where's that at, Micah?
That is in Andrews, but on the railroad tracks, out in the cornfields.
Yeah, and those pictures were actually put into bikepacking.com for rigs of the Colorado Trail Race. So that was pretty cool. And by this time here, we're on the road. This is in Memphis at the Bass Pro Shops. And we're just heading as far as we can. We made it to Arkansas that first day. What's that turtle?
Caught a little turtle named Alma. Caught it there at that lake. Had a good time, fished. Found some cool fossils.
I just remember it being so hot that afternoon and you wanted to fish. And I was like, I'm about to jump in this lake. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And this is on probably mid-Texas. I know the little car would go about 85 miles an hour, full speed.
Yeah. Those are some big old windmills.
Yeah, and you shooting the slingshot at signs, and I don't know, you probably shot that thing 500 times.
Yeah. This was an IHOP, and that was amazing food right there.
Yeah, that was some really good breakfast. So this on the second day, yeah, it was definitely the hottest. We don't have AC in our car, and we had the windows rolled down, earplugs in, so that the noise just didn't drive us crazy. So Zach and Jen, we bought our house in Andrews from them. They moved to Colorado, and they welcomed us to stay with them and also shuttle us to Denver.
And this is a restaurant called Sexy's Pizza.
Sexy's Pizza?
Yeah, it's really good.
It was good. That's their house. And that's Micah helping Zach with kitchen countertops.
It's the big old Trinidad sign.
Yeah, so the second day before we went to Denver, we went on a short hike just to help with our acclimation. And then Zach and Jen took us to Denver in their truck, dropped us off at the Hilton where Mike Rash was waiting for us.
No chance. He's through the gate.
So that bunny rabbit scene was right after we ate at Chick-fil-A that evening. Or no, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the morning of the trail of the start, and this is actually the greenway that leads out of Denver to Waterton Canyon Trailhead, and there we're at the trailhead. So this is our official start. That was probably a 15-mile ride or something.
Yeah.
That's a big reservoir. Can't remember the name, but it's maybe it's the Waterton Lake.
Yeah.
First hike a bike.
Oh yeah. Really rough.
That was about 2 or 3 miles into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, probably 6 or 7 miles because we rode through Waterton Canyon for a long ways.
That's true.
Remember how bad the wind was in Waterton that morning?
Mm-hmm.
Look at these peaks off in the distance. Look how jagged they are. That's why I zoomed in. But they were just, I mean, it was stunning. I can't imagine what they look like up close.
Right there you can see you probably can't see it, but the trail goes up through that really dry, sandy looking part.
That's right. We were heading to that place that first day. We were going to go downhill after this for probably 4 miles to this river. And we met these guys named Will and Reed. They were 2 hockey players, lived in Denver, and they were going to do the section to Breckenridge.
Yeah.
Right?
Like 175 miles.
And those crazy guys, they had all of their weight on their backs. They were riding with hiking backpacks on. And there goes Mike Rash. Little B bikes.
That's Mike Rash.
Yeah, that's Mike. This trail has been absolutely gorgeous. I mean, gorgeous. We're going to try to be quiet during the videos because there's some audio there that may be good. This is our first night at Wellington Lake.
Mm-hmm. I think this is in the morning.
Actually, yeah,
because it was dark when we rolled in there.
I can't remember how many miles we did that day. It was like 70.
64.
64, okay. We were so tired that night. Will wouldn't even get up, and Reed had to set up his tent around him. He was like passed out, dead.
This is me trying to get a fire going.
And we had the prime meal for the whole trip, which was refried beans and tortillas.
Yep.
We learned that from Ryan Van Duzer on his videos. He said that was one of the best things you could eat for calories and just keep your carbs up. And there's some grits.
That's
So, yeah.
Wellington Lake.
Yeah, the lake. Our campsite was actually on the other side of the lake that night. It was so far around to get to it. Remember,
Mhm.
out of the way.
This is on a detour. I can't remember the name, but it was like 70 miles. And we're headed to the Stage Stop Saloon.
That's right. And this was really one of the hardest days because there was a lot of elevation. It looks like we're riding flat, but it was up and down, up and
All
down.
right,
It was
it's the
so
morning
hot.
of day
Yeah, it
2.
was hot,
We
and the
slept at
roads were
Wellington
sandy,
Lake last night
so you didn't get good
at
traction.
mile 40.
It was over 100 degrees.
And got the whole crew with us. Up there is that's Reed and that's Will.
There's
They're from
Mike
Denver.
taking some pictures.
A couple of young guys. We kind of started riding with them,
Will and Reed.
hanging out with them. But it's a beautiful, beautiful day.
There were a lot of
Hopefully we can make about 70 miles.
There were a
on
lot
this-
of people out
This
there
is our
on-
detour road. And if we do, we'll
think
be
there
at
were
the Stage Stop
side-by-sides,
Saloon
maybe a
this
couple we
evening
passed,
for
but then there was a lot of
maybe a big
trucks,
burger and some
like
refreshments and
desert
some groceries.
rigs, Toyotas with their racks on them, and just kind of set up for doing that kind of trail riding. There were guys shooting guns. You could hear them off in the distance. Just looked like a really good place for outdoor recreation. But during that day, it was hot. We were glad to get on out of there, get into some higher country.
Yeah, and right up here somewhere, it was started to climb, and there was a whole bunch of people with horses.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Big caravan of horses. This is actually back to the pavement, and yeah, there's Stage Stop Saloon. So that was in the evening. We got there like 4 o'clock or something,
Yeah.
and we were really spent.
I ate so much food, I threw up like 4 times everything I ate. Like pizza, salad, drinks.
So Mike and Will and Reed went on a little farther. We camped in that meadow, and then the next morning we caught up with Mike at Kenosha Pass.
Kenosha Pass.
Yeah, he stayed up there at a campground.
Caught a little trout there, right there where I'm sitting.
This is a little cabin just off the trail. I happened to see it, and not many people ever visited it or knew about it because there was no trail to it. But it really looked like it was probably 100 to 150 years old. And I really love taking those pictures of just the garbage and the notches in the logs because it really shows you the history and what those guys were kind of like back then.
I think this is the top of Tennessee Pass,
No, it's not Tennessee.
Georgia.
Georgia.
All right, so
Georgia
this
Pass.
is about
Yeah,
midday
got a
of
big
day
old picture.
3.
Got it right there in my
And
hand.
we are just topping out on Georgia Pass, and looking that way is Breckenridge, and we're at about 11,800 feet, I think. That mountain right there is at about 13.2, and it's about 65 degrees up here. We're feeling good. We're going to eat some snacks and hopefully make it into Breckenridge for the evening.
There's your pickle.
Yep.
I remember after this, we were going down into Breckenridge.
Yeah. And
And,
it started to rain a little bit.
According to the trail
Rough
map,
stuff, isn't
it looked like it was going to be a pretty easy ride, but there were still some good climbs that
Yeah.
we had to go over.
And the downhill was super rough, like you can see right there. I was walking.
Yeah. We had to take a few breaks. But we actually got to Breckenridge pretty early in the afternoon.
Hmm.
And the cool thing is, Mike knew of a lady, and I'm not going to mention her name, but she's very high up in the mountain biking industry. I'll put it that way. And she had a place there in Breckenridge, and she invited us to stay at her place. And she had a finished out apartment over the garage that connected to the house. We stayed there for the night, and right there's the place. It was beautiful. And she had all kinds of bikes in her garage. This was her huge dog. That thing was like 200 pounds.
Yeah, it was the biggest dog I've ever seen. We're climbing up 10 miles.
The 10-mile range.
Yep.
It was like 10 miles to get to the top.
How to hike a bike?
And would you consider this
we're
was the
going
worst hike-a-bike of the whole trip?
Definitely some of
Somewhere.
It's definitely some of the
it.
steepest.
Yes. There's a picture that shows it.
It was also probably some of the most beautiful early on scenery, especially with just the grassy meadows and those evergreen trees.
Right there is super, super steep. You can't tell, but that is super steep.
Yeah, there was a place there where you literally
why
had to grab with your hands
takes a while
to get your bike
sometimes
up. And
for the
you,
dot
you just can't
to move on the
tell
spot
from
tracker.
from the video.
Some of the
what
stuff
it's
is
like.
slow going.
Right up here somewhere, I about caught
Just
a
now getting above the
ptarmigan.
tree line.
It was just like 2 feet away from me, and if I got like any closer,
Hard
it
to
would
breathe up
move.
here.
Yeah, those
I
those are
think
like a
we're
little
gonna
covey of, I don't know if it's a
pass
covey
right
of
there.
ptarmigan,
Look
but
at this
that's what it
mountain.
was, a mother and her little,
Snow on top.
her little ones. I know they're easy to shoot if you got a gun because you can get so close to them.
And this is where we started seeing all kinds of little marmots and stuff like that. We'd been seeing chipmunks, but this is where, like,
They were everywhere,
yeah,
like every 15 feet, and they would make this little whistling noise. Isn't that what they did? Like
yeah,
a little.
they'd make like a little, a weird little hissing noise.
Mm-hmm.
Now right up there, that's the top of 10 Mile, and it started coming a flood, and we got down there as fast as we can. We ate at this place.
Yeah, this is in Copper.
Copper Mountain. Yeah.
And we flew through those pictures, but it had rained on us, and we got to Copper. Make a long story short, we got a room for the night, and really dried out and got warm because that was a hard afternoon. And this is heading up to Kokomo Pass, right?
Yep, Kokomo Pass. There's that cabin.
Yeah, Janet's cabin. I believe that might be a picture of it. Which is a cabin you can reserve. You have to hike to it. I don't think there's any roads to it. I love that single track, how it just winds around those mountains. And you ride and then you walk, because you get to boulders that are as big as, wheelbarrows, like this boulder field. You just can't ride through that. I mean, if you were a very skilled rider on a very light bike, you could navigate through it and hop around, but you can't do it with loaded bikepacking bikes.
That's Kokomo. Kokomo Pass.
No, this is a false
You should
summit.
experience the
No, because
summit
that's the
of
sign
pass
right
with
there.
me.
This was Kokomo Pass, but you go on up
Wow.
To get to the summit?
to the top
Okay.
or something. Because this is like the
Look at that,
dip
there's a
where the
lake
pass
down
is.
I thought the pass was on, like we thought this was the pass, but it was another maybe 2 miles around the bend.
Well, I know that sign said Kokomo Pass. Because it also said no snowmobiling.
Yeah, there was a ski slope right up there.
No
The
snowmobiling
chairlift
up
came
here.
pretty close to it. Right around the bend
Awesome.
there to the right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Top of Kokomo Pass.
Now this is the top
Micah
right
getting
here.
the work done.
This is where, like, we went around and around,
Yes, sir.
and then this is like the top
Isn't that
of it.
beautiful?
Looking off over somewhere. I don't know where we were looking to, but there's like a big lake over there, and whatever that big brown mat of dirt is. It's mining stuff.
Oh, okay. So after Kokomo, we were heading towards Camp Hale, and it would be this afternoon where you flipped over.
Oh yeah.
There's the wildflowers, so we're heading down towards Camp Hale, and which to me, this downhill section, I don't remember how long it was. I'm gonna guess it was 7 to 8 miles. Look at that. It was the most beautiful and really, it was really enjoyable. Just the way the single track was pretty smooth and you could ride it,
Right around that bend, I flipped over the handlebars. really bad.
What did I tell you?
You told me to be careful.
And then I kept going, and I
yeah.
heard kapow.
Yep.
And then I waited on him, and he was all bruised and banged up. Now this is down at Camp Hale. No, it's not either. We'd already passed through Camp Hale. That was close to Tennessee Pass.
Well, there's the Elk, so we're heading into Leadville.
Yeah, so I think we'd already crossed Tennessee Pass.
We're on our way to
And
Leadville.
at Tennessee Pass,
2 miles
Mike
down
was
the
getting
road.
so frustrated because he couldn't figure out how to ship his bike
Elk.
out, and nothing was working. And Mike, if you're watching this, I hope you remember that and laugh, because it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back, I mean, it was hilarious just how awful that UPS was, and you trying to deal with all that. But it's a good thing for your wife. She helped you get through it on the phone.
So these are Twin Lakes. We stayed and camped there for that night. That was a beautiful campsite. Only like 17 miles to Buena Vista.
Yeah, and that night was so nice. Remember,
Yeah.
we slept so good, and the temperature was great. It probably got down to 45.
We had the best campsite of all of them.
We did. It was $20 for the night
Yeah.
or something. I think Mike paid for it that night.
So right down here, we're going down this mountain, and there were a ton of cactuses. Bunch of them.
Yeah, the little bitty short ones
Uh-huh.
that would poke your tires. You know, you had to be careful and stay on the trail. You certainly didn't want to wreck and roll down the side of the mountain. You'd be covered in cactuses.
Yeah. Beautiful lake right here. Wasn't a whole lot of fish in the river, but then we went on down, and there were hundreds of those big red horses.
Oh, is that what they
Or
were?
suckerfish, yeah.
Big fins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tons of them. And they were right up on the bank, like maybe 10 feet out.
Now from here to Buena Vista, we were on gravel roads, and it really was a fast ride. Well, okay, and some pavement, but it was fast. It was mostly downhill, and I would say we kept a pace of 20, probably 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, because when we get down here to this other road, I had to get you to slow down. I couldn't keep up with you.
I don't know what I ate that morning, or maybe when we took a break, but it really gave me a boost of energy. And right here, Mike was he was all hunkered down, see him in the front, and I thought, I'm gonna get him. And so I pedaled as hard as I could, and I flew by Mike, and I just smiled, and he just had this smug look on his face, like, I can't believe you just beat me. But Mike, to my defense, I gave it everything I had. That was as fast as I could go. And you weren't even pedaling.
It's a beautiful river right here. This is where we got on. We went on to
That's
the
an old rail trail, I
dirt
believe.
gravel road.
Yeah, I believe it was an old railroad that led into, right here, led into Buena Vista. And this is where I was pedaling so fast. And Mike was like, Dad,
Yeah,
gotta
see me
slow
way
down.
back there? I got even farther back.
Mike was behind us too.
Yeah, he was waiting.
He was waiting. But that was a good riding road.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
All those big rock formations. Just awesome stuff.
I finally got you to slow down, and then I was riding with you, and I was riding on the other side of the road,
Yeah, buddy.
and went around the bend. And there was a truck.
Yeah.
And
he yelled at you.
yeah,
He said,
he
you got to
yelled
stay
at
on
me,
your,
"Stay
in
on
your
side of
lane.
the road."
So this is our meal in Buena Vista. That Toyota pickup, I was taking that picture, and my spoke broke on my bike. So ended up, we didn't have a quick resupply. We had to stay 24 hours, get us a hotel room because the bike shops weren't open.
Yeah.
We also resupplied majorly because we didn't know. We thought the next place would be what, Silverton?
Mm-hmm. There's 2 fish I caught. I had some hand line that I use.
Yeah, no fishing rod. Just
No. And there's the hotel we stayed in had a hot tub and a nice
Alpine Pizza.
oh yeah.
That's Alpine?
No, Elkhorn.
Elkhorn Pizza?
Yeah, that was a 20-inch pizza, and we ate the whole thing in one sitting.
This is the next day at Blackboro Bikes where they were fixing my spoke, and they also changed my brakes. I believe it's $70.
And so Mike left us. He did half the trail and went home.
Yeah, that was halfway, and Mike was going home from there. This day seemed kind of hard, and I think because maybe we ate so much, and like our guts were full and we were just heavy because we also had restocked, so we probably had 20 to 25 pounds extra. And look at this hike-a-bike. I remember that day was just that kind of thing over and over and over, and we didn't make but like 25 miles that day or something.
There was a really mean lady around here somewhere.
Good job.
Or,
A mean lady?
or an odd lady.
No, she was
Not
odd.
steep.
When we
Yeah.
first got on the single track, she was like hiking in like, I don't know,
It
just
was like tight pants.
in some dance shoes or something.
Yeah,
It was really
weird.
strange. So this is the next day, and this was probably our hardest day, I think, because this is we're working our way up to Marshall Pass,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't make it to Marshall Pass, but we made it really close, and the weather just turned south, and it got cold and it rained on us, and as we got higher in elevation, we got wetter, we couldn't breathe, and this is at the top. This is where we stayed for the night, and thank goodness there was a shelter because it was pouring rain.
Those are some big deer.
Mule deer, maybe.
Mm-hmm. All of them were bucks.
You can see the rain. It was like 42 degrees. We were soaked.
And that was some of the worst hike-a-bike too.
Yeah, that last part, getting up to the summit, was unexplainably steep.
I burnt my sock right here. Burnt a hole in it.
We met some folks that were going to stay there for the night. Another guy pulled up on a bike. So we had a really good afternoon or evening, just hanging out and everybody drying out and trying to stay warm, sharing food. This is where we learned how to do ramen noodles and instant potatoes.
Instant potatoes, yes. That was good.
It was a lifesaver. We set our tents up just right behind the cabin over in the woods. And that way we didn't have to listen to people snoring, and probably stayed warmer in our tents than in that dirt floor cabin. But it was a lifesaver.
Yep.
Beautiful spot.
So this is the next day. We went on about 4 miles and got to
Right there at Marshall
Yeah.
Pass.
mm-hmm.
And there's a cabin. This cabin here, we didn't know that it was there, but if we would have known, we would have
Okay,
pushed
this is
through
the
and gotten
Hutchinson
to it
Burnett
because
public use
it was
cabin.
full of firewood and warm. So I'm sure there were other people in there, probably snoring, but we probably could have gotten a good night's rest in that cabin, and it would have been a fun experience too.
Yeah.
Come check this out, Micah.
They have these cabins all over Alaska, and this one right here looks particularly
It's got a
old.
little thing you pull here
I would guess that it's
to open the door.
was probably built in the 50s.
Warm inside too. Plenty of firewood. A couple of cots, 3 cots, and a wood stove. We should have stayed here last night. Man, we didn't know it was here. This is so cool. This is like those cabins in Alaska, except this one looks a lot older.
Next time we might have to stay there.
Yeah.
We signed in on the little
Notebook.
notebook.
Through here. Well,
We didn't take many pictures that day.
No.
That was the evening. We came in on a big rainstorm. We got our tent set up just in time. That was the next morning. And now we're making our way to the next detour.
yeah, this is going to Cathedral Ranch.
Right. It actually comes out at Slumgullen Pass, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Near Lake City. But this was like another, I don't know, 50-mile detour.
We made good time on these roads.
Oh, and it was gorgeous. Getting out into those plains and just being on those long roads like that. And it was kind of a gentle downhill for a long ways. That's a lot of fun riding.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're doing something. This was Cathedral Ranch. We didn't know about it. We weren't expecting it, but it was a lifesaver because we were out of food already. And they had everything we needed to resupply. tons of good pizza and stuff, and like just everything we needed. We rented a camper, got showers. I think we spent about $200 there, but it was well worth it. And those people were so nice. So if you're doing the Colorado Trail, you need to have Cathedral Ranch as a resupply. You're going to need it. Otherwise, it's like
150 miles, I think.
yeah, or more than that
100.
without a resupply. It's close to 200, I think. You remember this right here? I was taking a picture and you were somewhere.
I had to use the bathroom and I forgot my gloves and I went back to go get them. So you were just taking pictures.
Now this is at Slumgullen
Yeah.
Pass. We're about to get out on a highway, and all right, so we did the Slumgullen Pass, rode the highway.
We are at mile
Now we're working our way up
408.
to the highest point on the Colorado
You can
Trail.
see
Yeah, and this
how
was like,
beautiful
it was
and,
kind of downhill and it was super,
I don't know,
it was kind of like flat and downhill, but
rugged
it was
some of these
super
mountains.
rocky. Like there were, and they weren't big rocks. They were
Softball
like,
size rocks.
yeah, like softball, and there was a few like soccer ball sized rocks, and they were everywhere. You couldn't
Do
ride.
what?
You could ride, but it was dangerous. So it was like, do I ride it or do I not ride it? If I ride it, I'm going to get beat to death.
Way down beside this
What do I do? And
It
so
stays over there.
And I don't know how we survived as long as we did without getting rained on, because you can see it's raining like everywhere else, and it was coming for us, and we
Maybe we
just,
can make it to Silverton.
I don't know, we went as fast as we could, and somehow we made it.
the interesting thing here that you don't know is we're cruising along at about 11,000 feet, and we're getting ready to work ourselves up to like 13.3. And once you get past 10, you know, you get around 11, 11 and a half, 12, you really start noticing the effects of the lower amounts of oxygen. Even when your body gets used to it, your cardiovascular system's not used to it. So like when you're climbing, you're walking, if it's steep, you're walking 3 steps, stopping, breathing. Like, even when you're in great top shape, that's just what you have to do because you just cannot get enough oxygen. But we learned that drinking, lots of water and eating lots of carbohydrates helps with that elevation sickness.
Making our way up to
we
the
really-
highest
we
point
really
on
didn't
the
have any
Colorado
trouble.
Trail.
We noticed
I think
we
it is
didn't-
right
it didn't shut
up
us down.
there. I see some switchbacks. Isn't this gorgeous?
So
And there's a
beautiful.
little lake, pond.
I think this is the climb up to the top.
Yeah. And that puts it in perspective. I mean, you look and you're like, oh yeah, I'll be up at that peak in no time. And then it just, it's a lot farther than you realize.
Mhm.
There's no way you could ride this.
Oh no, that was super, super rugged and steep, and if you did ride it and you fell off the side,
Making our
You
way
probably won't
up
live.
this.
Yeah, it was pretty dangerous. I mean, you'd definitely be hurt bad if you could stop rolling.
Top.
Those rocks would have just chewed you up. So there we were probably at 12.5 elevation.
mhm.
Still not to the highest point yet.
Oh, what you doing, Micah? Yeah, Dad, just riding my bike.
We kind of got up on
13,000
like to
feet.
the top of that
No
plateau
biggie.
and went a little ways, and it was kind of just like, like
Well,
flat.
Stay over there.
Somehow we managed to stay away from that thunderstorm.
Well,
Well,
we
we
did
did get scared right here when we set up our tents because we thought it was going to hit us, and there was lightning in it and everything. And the wind blew.
Didn't really rain a whole lot though.
Mm-mm. This other guy was hiking. He set his tent up, and when we packed ours, after about 30 minutes, he was still set up, and we never saw him again.
Mhm.
He may still be up there. It was cold up
Yeah,
there
it
too.
was cold.
There we
it is.
go. 13,271.
Well, so we just made it to the highest point on the Colorado Trail, right here behind me. And here's Micah. And believe it or not, this last little section, we were able to pedal up it. But yeah, we had to bivvy up for a little bit a while ago because it started raining and we didn't want to be wet while we were up here because it's like 42 degrees. But since we're dry, everything feels good. We feel good, and this is like the pinnacle of the trip. So we're really excited.
Tell them about your little sign.
Oh yeah, so like
Right there it is.
This little sign right here, Micah spotted it way up there on the mountain. And he said, "What is that?" I said, "I don't know, go check it out." And so it was this little sign, and he brought it down here and stood it up beside the high point elevation sign. So when you see this sign, you know that Micah put it there, right?
yeah. So did I tell you I was looking on Google at the pictures of the summit up there?
No.
And I saw that sign.
Oh, so
from
it's still there.
People who came after us.
That's awesome.
That it was still there.
Now this was one of my favorite times too. We got to the Silverton mining camps and we spent some time exploring these old cabins and these old mines. They're filled in, but you could still see the machinery. Some of the buildings were already, collapsed, but so much history there. And there's a picture here of some of the chinking that they used in the logs. Look at that view. Same view that those guys had 100, 200 years ago. That cabin might have been there for 200 years.
Yeah.
But look, some burlap that they had chinked the logs with, still there. I thought that was really neat. I love seeing the way those logs were cut, and just the craftsmanship. And there's the old boiler and the winch system for the mine. And there would have been the shaft. It's filled in. Just a lot of interesting stuff to look at and explore. I don't know how they got that machinery up there. That had to be in teams of mules.
Oh yeah. They had to build it when they get up there too.
Mm-hmm. Probably brought it in pieces.
So this was like our best campsite of the whole trip.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. We were like in a gorge, and there was kind of like a little lake, a little pond where a little creek was down below us, and it was just beautiful.
Okay, so here's our campsite for Sunday night. We only have about 3 days left, but this is in a beautiful, beautiful range, valley, I guess. We're heading into Silverton, and back there is all kinds of silver mines that we explored today. But getting ready to try some freeze-dried food that we found. What does that say? Tacos?
Sweet
Pork.
pork taco.
We're excited about this. We've got a water going right here. We've got mashed potatoes, which we have fallen in love with. Mikey's got some back here, baby red ones.
These are the ones I want. Smoky cheese and bacon.
Smoky cheese and bacon. All right. Well, in case you're wondering, the freeze-dried stuff turned out to be really, really good. It's like pork and rice and, I don't know, beans, some corn in there. Our fire feels good. Got our tent set up in this gorgeous little valley. It's like some weather might be moving in. Maybe it'll move in and move out and be gone tomorrow. We saw some deer or coyotes or something down there in those ponds.
Yeah, that was my favorite campsite. It was an established campsite. People had been there before, but just kind of where it sat, and there was that pine tree with all the dead limbs for firewood, and I don't know, it was just, that was in the morning. That's a moose. The only moose we saw. Bull moose too. It's crazy that there's moose in Colorado.
Yeah. coyotes were crazy that morning too.
Yep.
I don't think
They
it was
were.
the evening, it was the morning when
Yeah.
we woke up.
Yep. So those
We're working our way up to that pass. Look at
these
these
things were cool.
beautiful spires. Worried they're gonna fall on us. So steep.
Some of those alpine lakes were really pretty. No fish in them.
I looked in one and there was a bunch of weird little bugs swimming around.
Really.
Yeah, I don't know what they were. But somewhere up here, I think it was here, we stopped and filled our camelbacks with a bunch of snow that was left over from the winter.
Yeah, I think that was right around the bend here. Uh-oh. It was a gorgeous day, and you would think that that weather would hold out, but it didn't. That afternoon, we ran into a huge thunderstorm,
Yep.
and they just roll up so fast there.
Thankfully, it was right as we were coming into Silverton, so we were able to get into a restaurant.
Mm-hmm. And that high noon burgers, wasn't it?
Yep. Right there where the train pulled in.
Right, yeah. All the people were there looking at us like we were crazy.
Right through here, it was a lot of big climbs, and we kept passing hikers. And then when we'd go up when we'd have to climb up the mountain, we couldn't ride it. We had to hike a bike, and the hikers would pass you, and then you'd pass them going down the other side.
That's one of those little whistle pigs.
Where you going? Huh? That's where I'm going.
I wonder if people eat those things.
We thought about it. We thought about eating a chipmunk. We got hungry enough.
Chipmunk would be about the nutritional value of an egg, probably. One
Probably.
egg.
There were some pretty fat chipmunks, though.
That was a pretty pond.
Mm-hmm.
Those little clovers were blooming, or whatever they were.
Mm-hmm. Shallow, and it was clear as can be.
Mm-hmm. That's not clover. Some kind of flower. That's the screensaver on my phone now.
It's a good picture.
Mm-hmm.
That's the snow we ate right there.
Yep. Yep. It was good snow.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of sharp turns down through there.
There were. That was a ton of switchbacks, and some of them were so sharp you just about couldn't ride them. You'd have to stop, and
Yeah.
if you didn't, you'd be, going over the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, finally made it to Silverton.
Yep.
Remember coming down Stony Pass, how steep
Oh my
it was?
goodness, yeah.
It was
and
like 11 miles of straight down.
And it wasn't just steep, it was rocky.
Yeah.
So it jarred your whole body the whole time.
So we got us a room that night because it looked like it was going to rain and rain and rain. I think it did. And we just ended up spending some time in Silverton, walked the town, got showers, got us a good meal for dinner. And that was nice. We needed a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm.
We ate pizza again at the it was like a
I can't remember what this one was.
Avalanche
Avalanche.
Saloon.
Yeah.
Look at that FJ60. I think they wanted $35,000 for it.
This is a road climb. Those are
Molus Pass.
Yeah,
Molus
that's common
Lakes.
Molus Lakes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just getting back onto our single track. This was our We thought we might could finish it this day, but we realized it was too much.
Mm.
But this was second to
This
the last
water
day.
is coming straight out of the ground, right where Mike is at. A lot of water. Huh? Oh. Well, it might be a big pond up here and it's coming under the ground.
So he was trying to get that water, and he said there were mosquito larvae in it. And sure enough, it was just coming on the ground from the lake. This is a bunch of red iron, like iron in the water. It was red, and the rocks were stained red.
Mm-hmm.
And then not too far, there were some that were just white.
Yep.
That was a cave. That was Goody Gaskell's Bridge, I believe, dedicated tours. There's a plaque therefore. This is the creek that was white.
Mm-hmm.
Limestone, I guess. In that water. Standing in the rock. It's really pretty. I don't know if it would have mattered for drinking. Probably would have had a lot of calcium in it. And we're making our way to Kennebec Pass, but we wouldn't make it there that day.
This is why it's so hard to make progress. Every time we feel like we're really getting somewhere, big storms come and we have to set up camp. So it slows us way down.
So that is Black Hawk Mountain. Black Hawk Pass, I guess.
Is that where we met those guys that were hiking?
I know there were some guys that were hiking.
Or maybe we'd already met them. Yeah. I think we called Shanna right here where this picture was and talked to her for a minute.
This is this the second day?
Second to
this
last day. Yeah, we're going to go a little further
yeah,
camp.
yeah.
That's our last
Because
campsite.
this is our campsite.
Mm-hmm. And it really looked like bear country, but we didn't have any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a bunch of tuna that night too.
I found that pocket knife. I slept with that thing every single night. You remember that wooden pocket knife I found?
This was the next morning. We were packing up and getting ready to get out of there.
These mountains that we're on reminded me a lot of the ones around here. And the ones off in the distance were the ones that we'd been on that were super rugged and jagged.
Oh,
but
they
these were
were.
kind of just like regular forests. They
Yeah.
were smaller.
Yeah. And that doe, she didn't care too much that we were close to her. She must have seen plenty of hikers.
Then we came back up and got on Kennebec.
Mm-hmm. Getting close to it. And we were following these ridge lines right here, and they were steep, and there were some places that were pretty dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But there again, it was part of the experience. It was just so much fun. We met some people that shared some potato chips with us, and
Yep.
it was an old man and woman. They weren't married, but they were hiking together. This right here is where I slashed a tire, and it put us behind probably 4 hours. And
And we finished.
there's the end. That's right.
Yep. Zach was waiting on us, and we got some pictures. Then we headed straight for Durango.
Yeah, went into town and hit the Mexican joint.
Yep. And that's the room we stayed in that night.
Yep, and that's me showing how thin I've gotten. And here we go. There's the trail. This is on Strava. And 523 miles, 73,000 feet of elevation gain. 73 hours is what it took us moving time. 55,000 calories burned.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, what do you got to say, Micah?
I don't have much to say. All I gotta say is it was an amazing trip, and hope y'all like this video. And if you go out there one day, maybe you'll see some of the same things we saw, like the sign I put up at the top.